on
This
down in Tennessee?
conference will now be recorded.
No, not really. I don't ever leave this workspace, so I don't
Not
know
as
what's
bad
going
as
on
me.
around me.
Yeah, I was forced to leave last week or this past weekend, his wife's birthday. Then my sister was in out of town, and everybody wanted to go kayaking.
There you go. Well, that's a good reason to get out.
That was fun. I started demolition derby on the river.
All right. Well, it's close enough to time. How's everybody doing? Chris,
Good.
how you doing, man? Steve, good to see you.
Hey, Brian.
Danny, Arthur,
Yep.
everyone.
Yep.
So again, I don't have anything scripted. So if you have anything, just let me know. Now, somebody, if you don't mind, click mute if you're not talking. That way, it won't get that feedback. I did get lens calibration things. I'll talk about that for a minute. Let's see. We switched a while back to the 120 and 85, I think, for the cameras because we couldn't get the other field of view anymore. Let's see. 4KW. Let me try that. Huh. Did I publish it? Well, I thought I published it. There it is. There's the correction values for the 85, the 120 field of view and the 85. So if you see in Lightburn right now, I gave these to Jason last night, so maybe he'll pop them into Lightburn. But as it is right now, when you plug in one of those 4KW cameras, it shows up as 110 and 95. So the field of view is 10 degrees different on both of those cameras from what's in the presets. So it was throwing it off a little more on the bigger cam on the 120 degree because it's distorted a little around the edges because of the fisheye. So it was making the accuracy off because the lens calibration wasn't correct for that lens, but I have the new ones now. So
Are they fisheye or are they not now?
technically they both are. Definitely the 120. And that 85 that we have now, I think is the one it is. It's really close. I would probably call it a fisheye because there is a little bit of distortion right on the very outer edges. So that's something that I put together. Other than that, I don't have much more. The fiber, they're going to talk about launching it. What they say, November 1st. And I think the all metal rotaries start October 1st, if I'm not mistaken.
Right in time for the holidays.
Yeah. But that's all I got as far as new stuff. So, but like I said, if anybody has any questions, feel free to jump in at any time. I'd love to field some questions.
He was asking for topics recently. I thought of one for you. It's basically keeping the bed to the gantry parallel or level to each other. Of doing a walkthrough on those because of the knives being out. Because I know mine are out. Mine are sagging, or it's either sagging in the middle or it's high in the middle. So I've just never bothered because it's not out that far. But then I've seen some people with posts and about
a video probably would help. That document is a little bit sparse on some things. There is a document about that, but I think a video would be good, and I can work on something like that.
Why don't you just do a live like next week? There's your topic.
I could do that. Well, actually, I'm making a list because Grant's got something for me too. I'm going to draw out all the machines and draw out a chiller and put the recommended spacing between them, and then put some dimensions all around it and put it and post those for each of the machines for people that say how far does it need to be, from the wall and how much room do you need for the chiller and all that stuff. So I'm going to draw some diagrams. That ought to be fun.
Do that in SketchUp.
Yeah. So I've got some diagramming stuff that I use that already have some templates in. That way I don't have to recreate the wheel. So, all right. Well, if anybody's got anything, like I say, jump right in, please.
I got a few questions, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
Good to see you, Brian. I've been watching the YouTube postings of these meetings online for the last few days.
Hmm.
A couple of weeks ago, just to give you a little background, I run an apparel printing company. We've been in business since about 2007,
Okay.
mostly client-based, but we're considering doing some branding.
Hmm.
And this whole journey for me started by um, tripping across a website that provides laser engraved leather patches that you can heat press onto hats.
Hmm.
And the more I dug into it, the more I started to see that these lasers were being used to, create these patches, these designs, and it really kind of appealed to me.
Hmm.
About a week or so ago, I was convinced that I absolutely had to own a Glowforge. And after scratching the surface a little bit, I realized, nah, I don't think that's really what I'm in. I didn't like the lack of local control over the machine. So
Hmm. Sure.
um, anyway, I started to gravitate towards the Thunder products, and have been doing a lot of online discovery and watching other people and users that have these machines and what they're capable of. And the more I discover, the more it appeals to me to have a machine that has that kind of capabilities. I'm looking at the 24.
Okay.
Um, so a few of the questions that I had, supply chain, what does it require? How long does it take to get one of these machines, or is that even a knowable thing at this point?
At this point, it is, and they're usually pretty good. The problem is they haven't been getting updates even directly from the carrier, so they're pretty much in the dark too. They're actually pretty good at shooting in the dark and getting it pretty close, but with all the logistics nightmares, there are some hiccups there. Um, and I'm not real sure. See, the way it really works is we've been pre-ordering machines from the very beginning. We'll order X amount of Nova 63s and X amount of Nova 30, whatever, and just what makes sense in the containers and that kind of thing. And then when somebody calls and wants a machine, we'll put your name on it. So you may have gotten the last Nova 24 on container 67, but somebody else might have ordered a Nova 35 after you did and could actually get it sooner, just because the way the containers stack out. So it's not, author called and put in his order, so he's next in line. It doesn't really kind of work that way. So just the order date, we can't really define a metric by using order date because things get changed around so much. I'm thinking it's around 2 months. You might want to ask
Okay.
some of these guys that are waiting on them. They might be ugly about it. I hated the wait. I paced every day waiting for that machine. It was horrific. The wait was horrible, but
Yeah.
it's worth it.
I'm sure it is. It's the unknowable thing. It's
Sure.
we're here. We're thinking, well, we want to we want to start cranking up, and if we're gonna add this to our repertoire of goods that we provide, obviously it'd be nice to have an idea if it's a 2 month or a 6 month wait. I mean, and I
Sure.
understand most of it's beyond anybody's control because they're coming from so far away and they have all
Yeah.
kinds of issues in China and stuff anyway. So,
Sure.
um,
Yeah, and
I,
the sales guys can give you a more pinpoint. That's more in their wheelhouse as far as
right.
the that stuff goes. Grant was going to try to make it on here today, but he had a bunch of calls, so he may show up. If so, we'll be sure and ask him when he gets on here. We'll put him under the spotlight for a minute if he shows
Okay.
up.
One of the things that was revealed in it was a call I guess you did a couple of weeks ago. Um, there are old and new versions. Are there new versions of these machines? They're. I heard
Um,
something mentioned about that, and just curious as to how that plays out. Like if you were to order something today, are you getting a version that isn't fully described on your website, for instance, and what might those differences be?
right. So the last major changes were around July 1 of
Okay.
2020. So all the ones that have been coming out anytime near then, for production have all had the latest stuff. The dual air assist has been around for a while. Prior to that, it was a single stage air. And there were some other things. They made some changes to some motors because on those older machines, they were getting some resonance or something at a certain speed on the longer gantry, like the 63 and the 51.
Okay.
So they changed the motors and the drivers. They also integrated the power with the chiller. That was one of the big changes. If you have your integrated power, you've got one of the newest machines out there. They started adding the chrome trays after that July 1, 2020, and changed some gear ratios. A lot of it's more technical kind of stuff, that you
Okay.
wouldn't unless you pop the hood and just happen to know the difference. But most everything has been, I'll put it to you this way, there is innovation, so there'll always be bigger and better stuff coming, but it doesn't happen a lot. So you don't have to, it wouldn't be feasible to think I might wait 6 months and see if they have something, new on the horizon that I might get an extra bell or whistle for.
Right.
I
Okay.
wouldn't approach it that way. But they've pretty much been unchanged. Even the Mars series, which is the legacy machine behind the Nova, resembles it in so many ways, the gantry and all of that. So they're pretty much uniform and have been that way. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, so they haven't changed the design aside from the bells and whistles.
Right.
So,
Okay. Also, I was reading about some, we use Apple computers here,
mhm.
and I was curious if there were still ongoing issues using the Mac operating system with the, I guess, with the software that integrates with the machine.
They're Apple is a little bit problematic in the communication. He's getting those worked out, but the problem is there's a more long-term solution. And I thought I had an article about it, but let me go to
I
the
saw
docs
something
real
where you were
quick.
talking about reverting back to an older version of the.
Right, you can go back to 9.24 before those extra changes in the communications.
Right.
But this is a solution that's up and coming. I've been running it for a couple of weeks now. It's the Lightburn Bridge. It's a Raspberry Pi, and they've written some a distro of Linux on here that will allow you to plug this directly into your laser, and then it'll be a Wi-Fi bridge. But the thing that's different about taking any old Wi-Fi appliance, like a router, and turning it into a wireless gaming adapter, or doing it the old-fashioned way, is Lightburn has the newest software has the Lightburn Bridge built in. So you set it up like a smart device, your hub, and then when you go into Lightburn, it'll automatically go out and find your bridge and set it up, and then you're connected. And that is rock solid.
This is for a Wi-Fi connection, you mean?
That is for a Wi-Fi connection, and it's to address some Mac issues, the
Okay.
communications
So
with Apple.
do those Mac
But
issues not exist if you're like plugged directly in through USB or Ethernet? Is that something that would eliminate
Ethernet
that?
Ethernet will eliminate a lot of that. Part of it is the USB drivers, the chipset in the Ruida controllers. FTDI is the chipset that they use. Apple ships their OS with an FTDI driver pre-installed, but it doesn't play well with the Ruida controller, and it doesn't play well with the correct driver unless you want to get into the command line in the terminal and start hacking your code, making
Yeah, that's
changes.
above my pay grade.
So, yeah, mine
And,
too.
and, and what
So,
I can tell you, I run Macs, and the machine I actually have connected to my laser is like a little mini PC that's mounted, dedicated for the laser. What I've seen is most of the Mac stuff is fixed in the next bug fix afterwards. All right, so almost every time there's a new update, don't download it immediately. All right, keep working with your stable one. Let everyone else go. If you're running it as a business, let the people that are
Yeah, and
hobby grade
I'm
playing
not
with
an
it.
early adopter of anything
Yeah,
like that. So,
exactly. If you're going to use it for your business, keep what's reliable, right?
right.
And or if you want to go play with it and upgrade and keep the old version, you always revert back, right? But there's not been anything. I remember, I think it was 920 come out. There was a couple of issues. 921 fixed them. It was nothing major. But yeah, Macs are notoriously known to be great design machines, but not good industrial machines. I.e., they don't play well with industrial equipment. And that's
Right.
lasers, that's switch gear, drives anywhere in the industrial world.
Now, speaking of Mac as a design machine, is it possible to use? We use Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop here. Can I take the files that I've created there and just seamlessly move them into
absolutely.
You
AI
can
files are drag and
import
drop.
yeah,
Yeah.
drop straight
the
in.
AI files, PSD files, and
Maybe not PSD. I'll have to look. Maybe that is in there.
Well,
Let me.
so Photoshop stuff, you depending on what you're doing with it, right? You'll import. So like if you're gonna have like a photo engraving, right, you can import the photo, right? And then Lightburn's got its own photo manipulation tools, right? Which was actually quite capable. If you're not using Photoshop for other things, a lot of people can get by with using just Lightburn with the photo manipulation tools.
Let's see. I just look right here to see. So yeah, AI, PDF, DXFs, SC, HPGL, which I think is a Hewlett Packard actual raw print language. RD files, SVGs, all the standard formats, bitmaps, JPEGs.
Okay, bitmaps. Okay, that's close enough.
Mhm.
Close enough. Also, I was curious, and there may be somebody else that handles this at sales, but I saw that you had financing available. You have any idea I don't know what the interest rates generally are for business. I'm assuming it's like a business equipment loan.
I think that's the way it's kind of structured as a lease, is the way people say it kind of appears on the surface.
A lease, okay.
Kind of. I mean, it isn't, but it is. I'm not sure exactly how they work it. There's one for, commercial. They've got two different links. You answer a question, and if you're a business, they'll send you to one preferred lender. And if it's not, then it'll be another. So they actually work with two different people. There's
Yeah,
links to both
it's
of those
third
on the
party,
site.
Arthur, though.
Yeah, they're
Right.
all third party. We don't do anything in house,
Okay.
and we provide that as an option, not necessarily endorsing them all that much. You know what I mean? We didn't thoroughly research them, but we do have a relationship with them, and they've been working with us for a while, and that kind of thing. A lot of people will just get a personal loan from their preferred vendor, whoever, and you can put down $1,000 deposit, and that'll give you enough wiggle room, and you can relax and think about how you want to handle it, because they won't ask for the rest until it hits the U.S. soil and hits customs. That's when they'll ask for the remainder.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was going to ask about that. How the the deposit and the balance is figured.
One is a lease, depending on if you're basically just a generalized consumer. That one's pretty much a lease. The other one you can go lease and or straight finance.
Okay.
As a business, you got the two options. If you don't have a tax ID, if you're not an LLC or something along those lines, they've basically forced the lease and not the loan.
Okay.
And one other thing that I looked at, Arthur, is if you've been in business longer than 2 years, right, you have a lot of different options, and you can do open-ended leasing or close-end leasing. So I think a close-end is the equivalent of lease to own. But the benefit on the business side is you write it off as an expense monthly rather than depreciation over 5 to 7 years on the asset. So you write off the lease payment as like a service, right? Rather than buying an asset and writing the depreciation off. There's some business benefit to do it one way versus the other. But most companies that offer that tend to offer it to more established businesses that can show a couple of years of revenue. That way, they're not, every mom and pop that sets up an LLC and wants to go start a business isn't calling them.
Right. Well, we were incorporated in 2007, so we've been around for a while.
Exactly. So that might be a better option for
you. Also, all of these machines run on 110. Do they have a 220 conversion?
You can order one special order. I don't know that I'd recommend it, because all of ours do perform just fine under 110 with the dedicated 20 amp as prescribed in most instances. Where that may be a problem is if you ever sell it, or if you don't call in for service for a long time, and then 2 years from now you need some help, and we send you 110 volt power supply, because 99.9% of all of our other placements are 110. It'll be the odd man out. You know what I mean? It could cause problems down the line unless that's identified, early, and that we be sure we make a note of it. But typically we don't get too many calls for that, but you can get one.
So you do need a dedicated 20 amp circuit.
Right.
Okay.
And you mentioned the 24, right? So that's literally at the bottom end of the power consumption.
It is, and Technically, it's got a 15 amp plug with it, so you could try to plug it in your standard 15 amp. Now, if you've got a space heater or a refrigerator or a capacitor start motor or something like that on the same circuit, it'll probably pop it. But if you can dedicate a 15, people plug those 24s into a dedicated, into a 15 amp standard.
Okay, that's good to know, because I have a few dedicated 15s for the heat presses that we use, so I could swap out, power when I needed to for that.
Right.
And another thing too is when you go look at it, that dedicated circuit is an aggregate of everything in the lasers. That includes the air pump or the compressor that comes with it, the fan that comes with it, the laser, the chiller, everything. So if you've got a separate air compressor that you're going to use that you already have that helps with cutting, that's higher pressure, plug that into a separate circuit, right? If you go buy a different fan, if you do anything slightly different, that's all in worst case. And
right.
I've got a 51-130, and we don't see anywhere near the 20 amps.
Yeah.
You have to run everything flat out at its full rating, the fan fully spooled, your compressor fully, and the output of the laser, and the chiller working at full load to even get near that.
And I pasted that article to this main power requirements in the chat so that you can refer back to it if you want to save that link.
Great. Another question I have, I don't mean to dominate, but I've had so many questions pop up as I've been doing my research on these machines. I know that it's got, I guess, a dedicated, I don't know if it's internal, but something that comes with the machine that's for the air that blows across the laser. How often, or how many of you guys actually use like an external or a separate dedicated
a lot
air compressor, and what kind of a thing would you recommend?
Right. So
what are you doing with it?
Well, I'm guessing that the air compressor is it really useful because of the amount of time that you would be using the machine in a commercial setting where the thing might be running for most of a day.
One of the big benefits of the external compressor is if you're doing a lot of cutting, right? The air pressure, the air assist, right, helps a lot with cutting, right? If you were going to go do a lot of, say, acrylic engraving, right, or a lot of engraving where you have little to no air, right, you're literally just keeping a positive pressure to keep the smoke off your lens, right, then I'd say you'd be fine with the one that comes with it. If you're going to go
off the bat, we'd be doing
stuff,
a lot of leather would be probably where we would start.
So
cutting
cutting, engraving and cutting would probably be where we would start, and then from there.
What kind of thicknesses are you looking at?
Well, I don't know. Like I said, this is something that's kind of new to us, but I guess the kind of stuff that you use to make the type of iron patches that you put on.
Okay, I got you.
Hats.
If that's what you were doing, I wouldn't get an external. I'd start with the other one because you're buying it; it comes with it anyways. You can always buy one after the fact, right?
Okay, I wasn't sure if the leather was something that created enough smoke that you'd want to step up the.
Well, the exhaust system will handle most of that extraction of the smoke. The air assist that blows down does help when cutting, to clear the debris field and help, cut a lot faster. And it also mitigates flames and flare-ups, especially on engineered woods that have adhesives and components like that in it, that cause it to be more flammable. But the stock air pump for the kind of thing that you're talking about would be more than enough. And the exhaust fan is also, you'd be ready to run right out of the box.
Okay, that's what I'm hoping. I see that picture. Is that the California?
That's the 8010.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And what's the lifespan of these lasers? What do you anticipate them to? And what do they cost to replace if and when that actually?
I don't have any. Well, we've had people always buy more, but we've never had any actual replacements that I know of. I just got a service ticket on one a couple days ago that was made in early to mid 2017. There's still Mars 90 machines that are almost 20 years old out there running to this day. They're tanks.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so the machine quality built real well, right? The consumable bits, right? So if you mess around and mess up a lens or mirror or something, those will say consumables, right? And those are less than $100, right? The big ticket item that will degrade over time is the actual CO2, the glass tube in it, right? And those are what are they in the 24? Are those no, they're not Reese's. Those are SPTs, right? In the 24.
Yeah, they're SPT C70s, and they're running, about $300 or so, around in there.
And those got what, a 2,000 to 4,000 hour
Yeah.
life expectancy at full rating.
Yeah, 2 to 4 years, unless you push them real hard. I mean, it's like anything. You can run these machines at 100% power, and you won't exceed the tube manufacturer's, maximum current rating. But your Corvette will do 180, but maybe it makes more sense to drive 60. You know what I mean?
Right.
To make it
Right.
or something, that kind of thing. And that's going back into your business model too, like Jeremy was talking about earlier. If you're a high production, high volume kind of thing, and your ROI is in your time, you're going to run that machine at 100% power, wide open, all day long, as fast as you can pop out pieces. And if you burn up a $300 tube, who cares? Because it's built in anyway.
Right. Right. Right, and that's kind of what we're hoping for. I'm hoping that if we jump in with both feet here, that we're going to be, we're going to be going flat out right out of the gate. So, so the 24 comes with a 60-watt laser. Is that correct?
It's a 70. Well, it's a 70-watt tube, but yeah, it's rated at 60. It'll output about 10% more than that.
Now, is that, I see that some have like 80 or 100. Is the 24 capable of running something more, or would you have to go up to the next machine if you wanted to gain
You'd
that
have
extra?
to go up to the Nova 35 to get an 80 or a 100 watt.
Okay.
Now I will tell you that Nova 24, the Lightburn guy's got one, and he's got a video on the Global Thunder group, and he's cutting 1/2-inch ply with an all stock machine, except for the California Air compressor. That's what made the difference. He can cut 1/2-inch ply like butter. It's a little slow, but you can cut thick materials on there. You could probably cut 3/4-inch acrylic if you take your time.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like a lot of you guys are woodworkers, and because I see you're in your garages with your clamps hanging on the walls and stuff, and it looks a lot like my garage as well. Although my business is really printed apparel, so. Another question I had is I see that there's you offer a 4-inch lens as an accessory. I'm curious. I don't understand what the purpose is of having the two different lenses.
So that's for cutting thicker materials. It has a longer focal range. It's more tolerant, so you can get a straighter cut on thicker materials because your laser beam actually has convergence and divergence. It actually looks like an hourglass. Not that obvious, of course, And so the 4-inch lens allows you to focus into the material more, and also gives you a wider area that's going to be constant. I don't know if I can zoom this in enough to. This support ticket thing doesn't work well when I try to zoom in a picture. Yeah, so never mind about that. But the 4-inch lens is usually for stuff that's 10 millimeters or thicker.
Okay, and that's really specifically for cutting.
It's for cutting, and it's usually for cutting thick stuff.
So if you're looking at, like, I see that you've got the tumbler where you can do the cups. I'm curious if the thing that you're etching has contours. Does the laser follow the contours, or does it have to be flat, or does it have to always approach it like on a perpendicular approach?
So there's two ways you can do it. So if you didn't buy, so you see Jason from Rotoboss is on. So he sells the rotary there. He makes one specifically for Thunder, and it'll actually rotate it. So you focus into the top of your cup, and it runs left to right on there, and you just roll the cup around to change it. One of the other benefits on the 4-inch is because you have a longer focal distance, you can get the equivalent power in slightly more of a contour. So if you weren't putting a full design on that, if you fixed that cup in the same position, you could actually use the 4-inch lens and engrave going across it without rotating it. You will get a little bit more leeway on doing it that way.
Okay.
So it'll allow you to etch contours, or if you're etching like a piece of stone or something that's not perfectly flat,
right.
It'll give you a little bit more tolerance when you're engraving.
Nice. Okay. Well, another thing I got to say, Brian, that really appeals is the support seems to be unparalleled. It's a comforting feeling knowing that if you're going to drop that kind of cash on a machine, that there's people out there that are not only using it and experiencing it and innovating and everything else, but that they're available. So
sure. Well, we certainly try our best. So,
yeah.
and we couldn't do it without the whole Thunder fam, because they're
Right.
critical. They answer a whole bunch of questions that, on the groups and stuff that they get pretty quick. So it's the whole experience has been phenomenal ever since I was introduced to the Thunder culture, I guess you would call it. I don't know if you've looked at any of the other generic Chinese lasers and been in any of their sites or any of their groups. But they're pretty much dumpster fires because everybody has different equipment. They're trying to talk about speed and power, and it's just
and I'm not a tinkerer. I don't want to start having to swap out mirrors and doing like that's no. I want to plug the thing in and get to work. That's
what I like about these, because you can run these machines and they don't run you. So
right. Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing along with that, right, is with the peripherals, right? So the controller, Lightburn is the same, right? The Lightburn community, the support from Lightburn is phenomenal, right? You could compare that to RD Works or some of the Muse from FS at Full Spectrum, and some of the software that's proprietary to others. You don't get the support in the open source, and the same with Jason from Rotoboss. When you do need it, he provides phenomenal support. Fortunately, you shouldn't need it much. He builds a good product as well.
Yeah.
Good to know.
And the most thing you're going to use is Lightburn. I don't know if you heard or if it was mentioned, you can get a 30-day trial of Lightburn, which is going to be where you're going to kind of live once you get your settings.
Right.
So it was a good start to go there and
if you're and like if you get your laser and you do your 30-day trial of Lightburn, your laser's 2 months out, not 30 days. You can email Lightburn and say, hey, I'm a Thunder guy and I got my laser on the way. I just haven't gotten my key yet. Is there any way you could extend it? And they'll add some more days on there. That way you can keep playing until you get your key. The way that works is, as far as the supply chain goes, is once you make your final payment, that's when they issue the Lightburn key. So
okay.
That whether you do if you did the deposit, then of course you wouldn't get your key until you settled up at the end, or however that works. But that shouldn't affect you being able to use the software more than 30 days. You'll just have to give Lightburn a quick shout and say, hey, can you extend my time? And they'll be happy to.
Understood.
And your biggest I guess difference, if you're already using Illustrator, you're familiar with vector editing software, so Lightburn's going to be real simple for you. The big, difference from using Illustrator that you have to deal with is the actual laser interface, right? So setting your speeds and powers and adjusting, for the laser rather than just doing the design side of it. But, Lightburn is a fully capable vector editing design tool as well. A lot of people use it, standalone and don't have any other software. And different people use CorelDRAW or Adobe Illustrator and stuff like that, and then import it into Lightburn if you need some more advanced tools.
Right. Well, for me, I've actually, most of my designs are they've already been created. We've been using them. We put them on other products, so I'd like to be able to just take that and drop it right in without having to recreate anything. So
absolutely, that's entirely possible.
Okay, great.
Super. All right. Hey, Travis, how's it going, man?
Busy.
Awesome. That's a good thing. Arthur, did you have any other questions? I didn't want to. If you've got any more on
No,
your
I covered
list?
it. I've got a list of stuff here, and I just went through every single question. So I appreciate you allowing me to take
Okay,
up so much time. But
perfect,
I'll just sit
perfect.
back and listen now. Thanks.
All right. Well, if anybody else has anything, feel free to jump in.
You answered my question at the beginning with the cameras, because I was trying to dial in my camera and get it set up, and I was off by like a millimeter or two. So, and you saw my email. You helped me a couple weeks ago, and my dots, my printer wasn't working, so I was like trying to go
Gotcha.
through. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
try that later
So
tonight.
the way that's going to work is you'll import that calibration, the lens calibration, and then after that, you'll still have to do the alignment part, where you
Okay.
autofocus the wood and then output the little thing and put the crosshairs on it. And then after that, it should
Yes.
be a lot better for you.
Okay, because my printer's not working right now, and I'm like, I gotta go get the ink for that, and I haven't done it, so I'm like,
Yeah, believe me, I know how painful the dots are. I've done them a lot. So we try to take those away. We try to make it where you don't have to use the dots.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Sure, sure.
So sorry. Did Travis do his
I have not yet.
Oh, good, because I just watched the webcast from 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'll miss that last week, because it's hit or miss with getting on these calls.
I gave him the key.
Yeah,
all right, just let the record stay.
All right, Travis, you got the key to drive.
I've been running into some issues with my OBS studio. Facebook changed a bunch of rules now, and apparently if you stream to Facebook, they don't let you stream anywhere else at the same time, which really sucks. So I'm trying to figure out a way around that, let alone trying to... Huh?
Get the Streamlabs OBS. They've got a connector in there where you can simultaneously stream to Facebook, YouTube, and I think some others.
So I've got the Streamlabs one, but and I was looking at that. The problem is I have to stream to 2 different Facebook groups at the same time.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, apparently there's a connector for OBS that will handle that. I'm just trying to get it working.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
gotcha. When you figure that out, let me know.
Yeah, we might
because I want to know how to do it.
Yeah, we might end up just having to stream to one of the Facebook groups and then transfer it over to the Facebook group as a pre-recorded later on.
Sure.
You can
so
do.
That's worst case scenario.
You let someone else relay it for you. Just watch your stream and stream that back.
Okay. Yeah.
You can do your stream to your main page, and then you share that stream to your secondary page. So when they click on it, it'll take them to the main stream. So you can actually share it among how many ever groups you want to, but you have to share the main stream from the main page that your OBS is streaming to.
Gotcha.
You can't share a secondary page's share on a different page. It has to be from that same group that your primary OBS is sending the data to.
Gotcha.
I guess the one issue you may run into there is doing it in 2 different groups. Someone may be in one group and not the other. So if it's a link to the other group, they won't be able to see it. So you might have to have like a public page and share the link or something.
Yep.
Yeah,
unless you stream it as a YouTube live and then share that link to all the other ones, and then it'll automatically populate a thumbnail and everything.
Yeah,
that might be an option.
Maybe I'll do it that way. So, but yeah, that's what I've been fighting with, is trying to get it to stream to YouTube and 2 Facebook channels at the same time.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, I'd probably do YouTube first, and then copy the link, and then paste it in each of your Facebook groups. That way, when they click on it, it'll take you to your YouTube, and plus it'll drive up both your Facebook and your YouTube algorithms at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think. Go ahead.
What I was thinking right now is we're going to be looking at doing them on Wednesdays. And so that way, if there are any questions on it that I don't get to during the little session, we could always answer them the next day when we're in this call. But yeah, we're looking at doing it on
hijacking my webinar, are you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, always. So we'll be looking at doing them on Wednesday. So right now it's 12:30 Alaska time. So we'll be looking at doing them at 1 o'clock Alaska time, 2 o'clock Pacific time. So hopefully that works for everybody. We're going to start out doing them every other week. And then as things progress, I'm going to switch it to every week. And then probably around summertime, we'll probably switch back to every other week. And then in the fall, go back to every week again. So, but basically my plan is to get everybody running their lasers so they're actually making money with these things. I see a lot of people, they buy them and they love them to play with, but they don't know how to make money with them. So yes, I will teach you guys how that will all work. We're going to start off, they're going to be short 10 to 15 minute sessions at first. So that way, short, quick, simple. I'll give you guys all my resources that I have as far as where I'm buying the parts, give you guys the templates that I use, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, hopefully it should really help out. And I know a couple weeks ago when I was on here, we were talking about wood prices, and I was saying how great a deal I was still getting. Just so you guys know, so I just bought another pallet of Baltic birch, and yeah, $37 a sheet.
Whoa. There you go. It's up from 11, huh?
Wow.
Yeah, from it was at 11.38 is what I was paying, and went from that up to 37 a sheet. So it is getting scarce out there, and that's not including shipping. I had to, my normal supplier is out of stock, and he said they won't have any more in for 2 to 3 months. And so I had to buy it out of Port Townsend, Washington. If anyone's looking for it, there's a company in Port Townsend, Washington, that's got about 700 to 800 sheets of it in stock right now.
And they'd love to extort you for it.
They would absolutely love to extort you. Especially, you know, he told me $37 a sheet, and then right after that, the guy goes, "Yeah, well, you know, we saw this all coming, so we pre-ordered a whole bunch before the price went up." I'm like, "So you pre-ordered it, and now you're still raising the price, even though you paid the low price for it? Thanks."
Right.
So are you still selling it at the discounted rates?
What was that?
I said, are you still selling it at those? Go ahead, Jason.
The delay is killing me. Now, as I say, the best thing to do is find a local place near you to kind of research your area. If you're near a large metropolitan area, then chances are you have a distributor close by. I would avoid Lowe's and Home Depot and any 84 Lumber, any of that stuff, and go straight for Joe Jack's Oregon Lumber or something. You know, there's a lot of those places in cabinet shops and stuff. They have a lot of top grade material. That way, you're not getting that crappy stuff from Lowe's or Home Depot that's just filled with glue and whatever they can find to fill the sheets.
Yeah. So, and that actually brings up a good point too. When you're looking for this wood, so the stuff that I use, that I prefer is called triple B braid. So when you actually look at it, it's B/BB. And what that means is it's a standard core. And then on the back side of the wood, you might have little football plugs, but on the front side, it's going to be a full cabinet grade finish with no plugs. So that's what I look for as a triple B. When you go from a triple B up to a double B, which is cabinet grade on both sides, it usually adds between $5 to $10 per sheet. And in my mind, that's not really worth it. Some people will go clear up to like an A grade, but I don't, you know, I can't see anything that we would be doing that we would ever need to go A grade on. I have ran it before. It cuts like a dream. It's insanely expensive. I mean, it was close to $40, $50 a sheet pre-COVID. So I can't even imagine what it's at now. But yeah, so for the most part, triple B is what you want. 4B is also okay. If you're doing smaller projects, you've just got to watch for where the footballs are placed in the wood.
Yeah, and another thing too is if you're going to be painting it versus staining it or something, you're going to cover it up anyways, right? If you look, depending on cost or what you can get, right? The footballs will cut, right? I cut them all the time if needed, right? You may have to hit it with a second pass if you want a cleaner cut, or trim the backside where it doesn't quite cut all the way through with a X-Acto knife or something, but it will cut. And you know what I've found is, in a perfect world, you go shop for what grade you want and this and that. In today's world, you get whatever you can get for whatever price you can find it at, right? It's you know, it's difficult. I've got a huge hardwood importer, right? They import by the ships. They're set up at state docks with a rail terminal there, and they sell to a lot of other hardwood suppliers in the area. they can't even get Baltic birch at the moment, right? They've started going with white birch. They've started going with other things because they just can't get it through their supply chain routes. So it's it's an issue at the moment.
And just whatever you do, if you're looking for wood, plywood, especially your thinner stuff, your 1/4 inch, your 1/8 inch, if you can stick your fingernail through the center core, don't buy it. A lot of it they fill it with like a basswood or even a balsa wood or something cheap, and that stuff it doesn't cut very well. It'll catch on fire quicker than you can bat an eye. You want to make sure you have nice clean sheets on every layer. You should be able to see each layer. If you just see an outer layer on both sides and a solid inner layer, chances are it's probably not the best grade, but you can check it by sticking your thumbnail or whatever into it, and if it just squishes right into it, then you definitely want to stay away from that stuff. It is no good.
Yeah.
Yep. And depending on what you're making, so I just ordered up a bunch of custom sheets of wood that hopefully should be here in a few weeks. But it's 8-inch MDF with a solid birch veneer on one side. And so that stuff, I played around with it. I've been testing it, and it cuts like a dream. There's never any variance in the cutting because it's MDF. It's very uniform. But downside is it's MDF. It's only you cannot put that stuff outside; it'll just disintegrate.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be once we get up and going with all this video stuff, we'll be supplying wood as well and pre-cut sheets for different laser sizes. I know a lot of people will get like woodpecker's wood off of Amazon and stuff, but they only come in 10 by 10 and 12 by 12 pieces, which is great if you have a glow forge, but most of us have already exceeded that size, and we want bigger sheets of wood to maximize efficiency and stuff. So we'll be doing a lot of that stuff. I'm working with one of my wood suppliers here. They're going to be bringing in a lot of custom graded wood, specifically for some of our projects that we're running. So we're starting to get really big into caulk making, and caulk making requires very specific type of wood. Otherwise, I cannot use plywood with it because the moisture in the air, when it changes, it starts jamming up the caulks and they don't run right. So I've got to have a very specific wood for that. But yeah, we'll start selling that kind of stuff and supplying it and trying to help people out. We've got a pretty decent supply chain since we're right by Russia, and that's where most of our wood comes from. So
sweet. All right. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first time on the chat, and I have an Odin coming in another day or two. So I'm wondering, I haven't seen any information on it, documentation-wise or anything like that. And I'm coming from the CNC world, so I'm not anticipating any big, surprises. Is there anything particularly different between the Odin and the Nova as far as just general operation?
Not as far as general operation. Not as far as like the dual air assist is the same. Speeds and powers will be a little bit different, but no, and in those respects, if you didn't lift the hood and look underneath it, yeah, they will behave the same way. They both, they all use light burn, same controllers, stuff like that. And the air assist, all of that stuff kind of applies. Where it'll be different is when you're looking at the diagnostics or the wiring diagrams and some of those other things, because there's a totally different technology in use there.
Okay. All right, that was about it.
Sure. Yeah, and you're gonna like it. Did you get the 22?
Yeah, because I think the 32 have 4 months. They were 4 months out, I think. Yeah. So I grabbed the 22 because a lot of my cutting I'm doing on a 4x4 CNC now. So I'm not really terribly worried about cutting large things. It's more engraving and stuff like that. So
you're gonna love
I'll get that. Yeah.
And I've got one. I've got an Odin 22. I've got a 32 on the way, but it's not here yet. So, there's not a lot of documentation on the site, but I have run one and owned one, so I'll be able to help you out.
Okay, well, I'll be reaching out for you.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you very
much.
Sure.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say about it is the one drawback.
Did Grant talk to you, Brian?
What's that?
Saying, did Grant talk to you about checking to make sure that the rotary works in the Odin? He's supposed to talk to you about that, to try that out and see, make sure that works.
Oh yeah, the Junior. Yeah, I think we're gonna prescribe the low roller for that one because it's only like 7.1 or something like that.
But it functions in there.
Huh?
Yeah. Well, even 7.1 will work with a Junior up to a 30-ounce cup.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't. I think
up to a 4-inch diameter.
Yeah, I think the low roller would be a better choice for that machine, though. Just because.
Okay.
Because once you take the honeycomb out, there's no extra give. It doesn't have blades or anything like that in it. It's just a flat aluminum bed. So there's very little give. Okay. So in case somebody wants to do something a little bit bigger.
No, I think.
But have you tested it functionally to man?
Yeah, the rotaries work. It works the same way. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, the functions identical. It works fine. And the Junior will fit in there, but it just seems a little tight to me. You know what I mean? My gut tells me we should stick with the low roller on the Odins. But
let me ask you a question. I was originally ordering the Nova 24, and then I went to the Odin. Mm-hmm. When I originally ordered it, I ordered the low roller. Mm-hmm. I see when they did the ordering, they replaced it with the Junior.
Did they? Okay. Maybe that's what they're going to send with it then. It will fit.
The Junior.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is with the low roller is the wheels sit so low to the ground, and that's why it's made to sit on the knife blades, because if not, you lose about 3/4 of an inch of travel below the bed surface on the arm when you raise and lower
system, you could remove a couple of them if you needed to. I see.
Yeah, so that's where the low roller you'd have an issue, especially if there's no way to suspend it. Okay. The Junior would be best for that, and probably best to sit on the knife blades on the bottom of the machine bed itself, or on the bed itself, because you need 6.5 inches of clearance to allow you to do up to a 30-ounce cup on the Junior. Okay. So with 7.1 or whatever, because even the low roll, even the Nova 24 has more headroom than it actually says it has. Right. So the Odin, I would imagine, is probably the same. It probably has a little bit more head space than what it actually rates it at.
I'll have to go back and look at our notes. It's been a while since we talked about it, but whichever one they sent you, Ron, should be the one that's prescribed for that machine. And I can double check.
Yeah, I haven't gotten it yet, so that's why I'm wondering what the big difference is between the low roller and the Junior is.
Yeah. Well, after what, because I didn't test that part. I didn't think about it having that solid bed under there, and then you losing a little distance on the bottom side. So I think Jason's right. I think the Junior will be a good fit for that one. The Junior will work in it, no problem. I've used the Junior.
But just to answer your question, the difference between the Junior and the low roller is essentially nothing mechanically. The big difference is the assembly is designed to sit as low as possible, i.e. why the wheels are almost drag the ground if you were to set it flat on flat ground. So it kind of, if you've ever seen the hot dog rollers that the old Chinese machines have, it was meant to closely mimic that, but also have your lifting ability, so you can do your adjustments. But like I said, mechanically, there's absolutely nothing different about it. The frame sits lower. The wheels are smaller and spread apart a little bit more. That way it gives you more clearance with the object being able to sit a little bit lower in the machine or in the rotary. But aside from that, that's really the only major difference between the two.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Sure. All right. So, Jason, since we're talking about rotaries, are you still? What did you say?
Yep.
October 1? Or did
Right
you say?
now, I'm looking to have enough to send you guys. Hopefully by the end of September.
Okay.
And then the rest of the stuff should be in by mid-October.
Okay.
I'm trying to get a rush on it, but like you know, the logistics and stuff right now are not the best. Everything's really slow getting in and out of port, so I've had a little delay on that end.
Well, we're supposed to be launching Aurora like November 1, so maybe we could follow along that timeline or something. Maybe that stuff will all be in by then.
What's that?
I was just talking about the timing. You know, November 1 might be a good day to shoot for. Maybe everything can come in by then.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna start sending them out to whoever's ordered them as soon as possible. I've
Gotcha.
already got them built up. Basically, just waiting on the clamping mechanism and the heel plate, and the bearing and the tensioner. So I mean, those are the only things that I'm really waiting on. Everything else is built up, ready to go. So as soon as those things come in, stuff will start leaving.
Sweet.
So I mean, it's not a big holdup.
Yeah.
But there is a little holdup with logistics and getting stuff here. So
sure.
That's kind of out of my control, but we're trying to do our best to stay as far ahead as possible and be ready to send them out as soon as we have everything.
Yeah, we're feeling that pain too. So
yeah,
I even almost doubled up on that lady's part on that one, but I'd rather have two than none. I knew you said you had sent it, but I forgot. And I had it all boxed up and everything. I was about ready to send it, but I pulled it back.
That's all right. But yeah, well, let's say my picture is not coming up, but yeah, these things, they're sharp. The way they turned out is really good. So I hope everybody likes what they are once they hit the streets.
Yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on one. I think me and Grant might have to fight over one of those full rotobosses. We may have to have a duel or something, or a contest or something. I don't know what
that's between you. That's between you guys. I just send it where they tell me to send it.
Oh, so I just need to get to you first.
Yeah, right.
Did you watch the game last Thursday, Jason?
What game?
Ohio State.
Oh no, I don't watch football.
Oh,
I got turned off of that years ago.
Yeah, I only watch college, but that one was nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm able to or know what's going on, I usually watch the college. But that's about it. I don't go out of my way to watch it. But
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, cool, man. What time? Okay, we still got 4 minutes. Anybody got any other questions?
Oh, I figured I could kill it with the Ohio State question in 4 minutes, and it didn't work.
Just
yeah.
And just to kind of reiterate on the rotary stuff for anybody that might watch this later on, if you do have a rotary that was purchased after July 2020, there will be an upgraded metal kit that'll come out for this. It's the same prices as the associated price increase with the rotary itself, so it's only $100. That's for all the rotaries. You just go to the rotaryattachments.com and you can order yours there. You select the color for your rotary. If you got a Thunder, it's blue. If it's if one of mine, it's black or whatever. But those will be available. They're pretty simple to swap out if you have a rotary already. Everything that's plastic will be replaced with metal, and you'll get a little toolkit and everything with it to be able to do that stuff, Allen wrenches and whatnot. So you'll have everything to do it with. It's really simple. You don't have to do any major structural stuff to the rotary. So if you have it after July and it has the metal plates, then that kit will be available for you around the same time, 1st of October, middle of October.
Yeah, I was going to buy some of those metal plates and put on that acrylic jig that I've got, but I've been using it the way it is. I don't think I'm even going to bother.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, the rotary's been the same for 2 years. I mean, it hasn't changed. The design hasn't changed in 2 years. The only thing that's changed is obviously upgrading, from acrylic plates to metal plates originally, and then this change here, which is upgrading the 3D printed parts to the metal, the billet aluminum parts. So there's only been 2 major changes to it, and that was just basically upgrading the quality of the materials for the rotary itself. So
nice. I'll look forward to it. Yeah.
Did I hear you right when that the fiber is getting released November 1?
That's what we're shooting for.
Okay. And the initial release is just going to have the 20 watt, right?
Right. That's what we've got right now, or the 20 watt.
Okay. So, and then Jason, a quick question for you. I know I had talked to you a little while back about doing a rotary that could hold multiple tumblers. Is that something that you're still possibly looking at doing?
Well,
Actually,
there you go.
I think he left.
He ran away.
He might have left.
Oh no, there he is. Nope.
I still see him muted, so.
Make a Gatling gun or something. Get that big rotary motorized thing going. That's some neat stuff.
Brian,
there he is.
Okay? My microphone.
Is what?
Can you hear me okay? I switched my microphone.
I can. I can hear you. I think I hear Jason too.
There, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Dogs too.
All right.
I think you're gonna have to ask the question again.
Go right into 4 o'clock. So yeah, I think he can hear you now, Travis.
Okay. Hey Jason, I had talked to you a while back about being able to do a rotary that would hold multiple tumblers, and I just wanted to see if that's something you're still looking into.
Yeah, now he is. I don't see him.
Now he hung up on you that time.
That's definitely a hard no.
That's what I'm thinking too.
You can hear the crickets chirping.
Hey, this will be the first question on the next week's episode. We'll just roll right into this one. We'll sit here in complete silence until you get an answer.
Yep. Well, yeah. So like I said, next Wednesday is when I'm planning on going live, as long as I can get my OBS working. So yeah, it'll be Wednesday, 1 o'clock Alaska time, 2 o'clock Pacific time, and we'll kind of go from there. And the first one's going to be really simple. It's going to be talking about slate coasters and how I pull about $120 plus an hour making slate coasters.
Nice.
So you're planning on shooting on YouTube first and then just sharing it?
That depends. If I can get OBS working the way I want, I'll be streaming to YouTube and to Facebook, the Global Thunder group, as well as the Mad Moose group.
Yeah, to let everybody know what your pages are too.
Yeah, you'll see it over the weekend on the Thunder Laser group. I always get the 2 Thunder Laser groups mixed up. They really just need to merge them into one.
I was just trying to get you a kick there.
Yep.
Hey, Travis, Jason came back to tell you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Travis, to answer your question, if you can hear me, yes, it is something that I am entertaining, but I'm kind of bedridden right now with just trying to recover from pneumonia. So I'm not able to go to my shop right now, but yeah, so eventually it's something I'll entertain. I mean, I thought about it before, but just the practicality of it to me is not worth it. But if it's something you want to try out, I mean, I'm more than happy to try to figure something out.
Travis said he had a budget of what, $24,900, I think, on this rotary idea. So
hey, I can work within that.
Hey,
he's like, I'm on my way to the door now.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
I'll take my oxygen bottle with me and I'll head over there right now.
Yeah, I would say I'm looking at a new laser right now, and the new laser is almost $250,000. So yeah, I'm going to be a little broke there for a little while.
Nice. What is it? A big
25
fiber flatbed?
Yeah, big fiber to go through 2-inch steel.
Yeah. You
What's
going to
the
get into
wattage on
armored
it?
vehicles instead of wrapping them now?
No, really, the thickest I'll probably ever do is like 1/4-inch steel, but I want something that's going to go through really fast on that, and it's a 5-foot by 10-foot bed.
Nice.
But yeah, we're going to be getting into doing like driveway gates and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. Oh man, that opens up like custom bumpers and grills and guards, all kinds of stuff.
Jeep stuff.
Structural components.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Not to mention
Nice.
the rapid prototyping, because up here or up where I'm at right now, the best you can get on a rapid prototype on steel is there's one company that's got water jet, but fiber lasers, the kerf on them is so much smaller than a water jet, and it's so much more precise.
Yeah, and the maintenance, man, a water jet just by design just eats itself up after a while. It's constantly maintaining too.
Yep.
I'm looking at getting a 3 kilowatt fiber, but holy cow, those things are not cheap.
No, they aren't. So I think ours that we're looking at, it was either a 2.5 or a 3 kilowatt. So it's right up there around the same. But yeah, like I said, they're $250,000.
He's
that's
going to have
to try to engrave some cups with it.
Yeah.
He's going to have some armor-plated sleds going around up there.
You're going to have to defocus by like 4 feet, though.
Are you getting
right. One of the first things I will cut is I'll find an old glow forge and cut it right in half.
There you go. You have to videotape it. We get a lot of hits.
Are you getting the 4-axis or the 3-axis?
The 3.
Oh, yeah, because they have a 4-axis, some of them, to where you can actually cut contours. Like if you're cutting tubing, you can cut contours. But then there's other ones that have a rotary jig that you clamp into, and it basically works the same way as a CO2. It rotates, and you can actually cut through it as it rotates to cut like tubing for like a race car chassis or something. You can cut the scallops out of it and stuff to where the pieces fit together in the corners and all that stuff. But
yeah, the one
that
that
probably
we're looking at has a live focus head on it, so we'll be able to cut like corrugated metal and stuff. And because of that, my understanding is I can't mix a 4-axis with a live focus head.
Oh, really? So yours,
that's what they told me. So at least maybe
if you have wavy material, it'll focus as it goes.
Yep.
Basically, to make sure that it cuts it the same.
Yep. Yeah, there's no, and you don't ever have to worry about focusing it. You just hit the button and it finds exactly where it needs to be and follows it. Any type of wave in the material, it'll automatically raise and lower the head how it needs to.
Nice.
Yep, that's cool. All right, guys. Well, I guess I'm gonna stop the recording if I can find the button. And I guess I'll jump off here. And I still have to put descriptions on those other 2 weeks. I've been behind on my video processing and all of that back end work. I've been working on inventory and getting more stuff in since we have a lot more people now. I've got a few extra power supplies and stuff like that in.
So is that thing behind your left shoulder just gathering dust now, or is it actually being played with?
I'm actually using it, and I'll have some good info when it rolls out. I want to be ready. I definitely don't want to be caught with my pants down, unlike each of these meetings.
Have you messed up any firearms yet?
No, but I haven't stuck one under there even. That's, I'm still learning how to work my CO2 laser, man.
Glocks are easy, but yeah, if you want to mess one up, they'll play with the city.
So, yeah, I heard that stuff.
Brian, how long do you think it'll be before you guys come out with the 50 watt?
I'm not sure. They may be available. They're on the Chinese site. I'm not sure.
They're available lots of places, Travis.
Yeah, I was hoping to stick with a Thunder one if I can, but yeah, I might end up having to go third-party brand.
Well, check with Grant. They may have a 50. They may be able to get one out.
They need a
They
bigger
may be able to pop one out. They may not be thinking about producing them right now, but they can probably put you one together.
Okay.
It'd be worth a shot.
Have they talked about that? Have they talked about getting a bigger engraving surface?
Well, yeah, but this is their first, stab in the fiber galvo arena, so I'm sure there'll be some innovation, and so there are bigger options also. You can get the 150 or the 200 lens, I think, on some of the configurations. They just starting with the smallest. They sent me the smallest.
What's the source? Is that a Raycus source in it?
It's a Raycus source, and that's Sinai.
Sino,
yeah. And from what I understand, there's two different ones. This one's got that good Panasonic autofocus sensor in it. Whichever.
The one I bought, I bought the JPT source on a 50 just because you can get the higher frequency range. So if you don't go all the way up to MOPA, right, and triple the cost, you can spend a little bit more with the JPT, and you can get up to 600 kilohertz. So you can actually do some color on stainless, not as much as but you can play with your polymers a lot more, and you can at the higher frequency you can get a lot more stuff on the polymers and the plastics.
That'll jump their fiber to a MOPA. They're not that
we have
much
one. We've got a MOPA offering. It's just
a
20 right now, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
One of the things I'd love to see you guys develop now that you're getting into galvos is I'd love a CO2 galvo.
CO2.
Yeah.
I'd love a dual source gantry with a CO2 RF and a fiber in it.
Me too. And if we're really go throw a UV galvo after that too as well.
I'd have to tell them to shut up and take my money if they came out with one of these.
I already told them they need to be doing that because, GWiki and Aeon have the dual source CO2, so they've got a glass DC excited one and an RF so that they capture the low end of the engraving with the RF and then the high power of the cutting on the glass tube, which is, that kind of makes sense. But
you should one up them and fix the other people. I think Trotec and Epilogue do the fiber gantry with CO2 gantry.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, the fusion. I think we need a CO2 and fiber source gantry system. That would be
they definitely have a good price tag on
that. Yes, they do.
Right. Well, cool, guys. I'm going to hit the stop button on this thing. I got to go answer a few questions, and I guess I'll catch you guys next week. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. Take care. You guys have a good day.